Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network, the number one network in the United States, and also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. I'm even doing it with a sore throat, but it's getting better. Big C, I definitely want to say thank you to all of our good old boys in Latin America. So thank you for following Charlton and Big C Sports, as well as across the pond in Paris, France, as well as London, England. And of course, you good old boys from Canada, love you for following Charlton and Big C Sports. But Big C, there's no one I love more than you good old boys from the United States, called the land of the free and the home of the brave. How's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
Charlton, this is a brave weekend down here in the south. Everything is moving cordially, as well as to be expected as far as the playoff season in the NFL is kicking off. And you think about it, you got two Southern teams playing for the college football national championship. You got Clemson and Alabama. How much more Southern tradition can you get?
Yeah, that's always true, Big C. I guess they say the food tastes better down south, and they even say the women look prettier down south, but I don't know. I think that they all wish they could be California girls, Big C. And speaking of California girls, I want to say that this section is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And of course, Big C, I know I feel bad for you because with all the rain we get out here in California, I know you good old boys down south, it's hard to keep that thing clean, but it's also hard to keep it dirty the way you prefer it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, any day is a great day to ride around in the Escalade, Charlton. It's just a beautiful day. It makes life better. You ride around in the lap of comfort. Every now and then you get a little bit of wild game smell up in the
Oh, yeah.
It's just a bit, but to ride around and be noticed by everybody. To be looked at as a folk hero because you're so bold and brazen about not going with the mainstream, about cleaning your car all the time.
Well, that's something funny, Big C. And before we get into a little bit of what's going on, we have all these football games that we've had over the last couple of weeks. It's like a smorgasbord. Whether it's high school, we covered that. Whether it's college, we covered that. And we're getting ready to crown a national champion on Monday night. But the NFL, to me, is always something I love watching, Big C. And speaking of the NFL, we got some college basketball to talk about as well. Just want to get your thoughts on something. You've been around a long time. Sometimes whether you're a boxer, whether you play tennis or baseball or football, guys have to find a way to relax. And not everybody's going to have the same way of doing it. Why such uproar over the New York Giants and Beckham down there partying in the South, Big C? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, this is one of the things we've talked about as far as people not being in touch with the modern new players in sports. When we look at, you talked about Tom Coughlin coming back as a potential head coach in the NFL at the age of 70.
Wow.
And all this lambasting of these New York Giant receivers taking a day off, going down to Miami, relaxing in the sun versus the 30-degree weather up in New York.
Yeah.
Today's player, Charlton, can get on a private jet. They can charter. It's no big deal. $10,000 an hour. With the money they make, it's nothing. Okay?
Yeah.
We're talking about millionaires doing what millionaires do. Now, no one talks about a corporate American taking off, Charlton, going somewhere on a day off when you're not having to be at work. And Charlton, they weren't late back to the meetings, okay?
Yeah.
There was a few years back when Cowboys backup quarterback Tony Romo took off with Kerry Underwood and went down to the Caribbean islands on days off.
Yeah.
You didn't get the lambasting about Tony Romo because he had white privilege to be able to go do this. But when you look at this receiving corps of the New York Giants, mainly African Americans,
yeah,
they were hanging out with other people in the entertainment field, and we've talked about how entertainment and athletics cross parallel with each other, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you get some old-time fogey writer from New York saying that it was an embarrassment and they were out of character going down doing this. Now, Charlton, the greatest backup they had in this whole scenario is that people were trying to figure out where the picture came from, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
The picture came from Eli Manning, the quarterback. He was down there with him.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let Eli get in the picture because he couldn't get the picture with his shirt off. It would have been too embarrassing.
know, that's funny.
So Eli stood behind and took the picture, but no one lambasted Eli for taking the picture for hanging out with his teammates.
Yeah.
They were doing team meetings, Charles.
Do you think that some of it has to do with when you look at the wealth that you have in the black community, the black society combined, if everyone put their money in one monolithic pot, I think the wealth would be about 7th in the world, Big C, because there's so much money produced in the community. It's so fractured. It usually turns over one time in the black community, and oftentimes when people see someone black, African American, and they see them partying in a lifestyle that they're only used to seeing Caucasians have, subconsciously they don't like it. So they gotta find something wrong. They've been doing it forever, athletes and entertainers, Big C. The Rat Pack down in Las Vegas. Nobody complained about that. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, I go back to the late Muhammad Ali when he won the heavyweight championship against Sonny Liston. Many people don't remember this, but at the end of the fight, when the announcer was trying to interview him, the announcer told him to shut up for a minute, okay? And Ali was lambasting as he normally does.
Yeah.
He told him to shut up, so he can get his interview in. That's always been the disrespect to wealthy African Americans, Jonathan. And here was Ali becoming the most noted African American figure in the world, and here was somebody who was not making the money that Ali was making, telling him to shut up because that was a sign of the times. And when you look at these old writers, Jonathan, that are in sports, guys that are in their 60s, 70s, some of them even in their 80s, they go back to an era that Donald Trump resonates about.
Yeah.
When you could do and say what you wanted in America. And so these guys are thinking, I have no control of these guys. These guys would make way more money than I ever have covering these guys, and these guys are the reason I earn a living, and they won't give me the due diligence that I think they should give me, but they have no need to respect the writer, Charles.
Yeah.
The writer needs them. All of us in sports look up to the guys who are playing the game because they are our story, past, present, and future, Charles. They are the reason that everybody in sports exists. If you take away the games for a month, all sports, college, professional, high school, playground, what would a sports writer do? Because Charlton, the modern day sports writer, doesn't know about history to keep entertaining the listeners on radio and television. But these guys who take outlandish comments and put them at these young men who are living the life of luxury that they can afford. They were not living outside their means.
Yeah.
It's no different than you going down to Carl's Jr. getting a burger.
Hey. I like my moonshine burger from Carl Jr., okay?
But these young men, they got on a jet, Charlton.
Yeah.
New York to Miami, hour and a half, 2 hours, best maybe 2 hours, I'm going to say. But they were on a private jet. And so they left on the time frame that they wanted to leave on. They were not late to the Giants meetings. So the coaches had no problem with it. So I don't understand how the outside entities, so-called sports writers, because it wasn't sports. You're dealing with a guy on his day off.
Yeah.
So if they'd have gone out and played golf, would it have made any difference? If they'd have been down there with polo shirts and ass-cats on, Charlton, and Docker sneakers, would anybody care what any comments we made? No. They were chiseled young African-American athletes showing off their bodies and their tattoos, and mainstream white America took offense to that because they were standing on top of a yacht.
Well, Big C, the only thing that really offended me is they all have a six-pack. It made me jealous more than anything else. I did an extra 3 push-ups this morning because I want to look like Beckham and those guys, man. But there's a guy by the name of Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's with Real Madrid, the soccer team, worldwide. A lot of people know him as one of the top soccer players. I recall him being on a magazine where he had a model, one of the Victoria's Secret models, and she was on his back. It was a very intimate type of photo. And he had his shirt off, and there was no backlash over it. It was just like, this guy, he deserves to have all the sex he wants with these pretty women because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, right? But there's still this thing when African-American men are shown in a sexual light, Big C, people don't like it.
Let me take you back when you would walk around with a pacifier in your mouth, okay?
That's yesterday, Big C.
Let's go back to the 1969 Super Bowl, okay?
Yeah.
The same city, Miami, all right? That's where it was played. Nobody blasts Joe Namath for sitting around and pulling with ribbon in a pair of shorts.
Yeah.
Okay? No one got on them. Those photographs are still in circulation today, just like the one about the Giants player. This is not the Super Bowl, but Joe Namath sitting out poolside, drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Got dozens of gorgeous women around him. But that was okay because that was Joe Namath. He was the face of the NFL, the AFL really.
Well,
and so it was okay, but now you got guys from the same city doing the same thing that Joe Namath did, and Joe Namath was prepping for a game. These guys are on their day off. No one blasted Joe Namath then or now. They were just saying that's Joe being Joe.
Well, Big C, you think the guy that owned the LA Clippers and got banned from the NBA by Adam Silver because of some issues he had with African Americans, I think there's something that goes on still. You can trace it all the way back to slavery, but I saw some white girls in bikinis. And that bothers so many people at a subconscious level that there might be women who love black men, even though Madison Avenue doesn't want to portray that, but you and I know the truth, especially athletes. They can have whatever they want, but they're not used to being, paraded around on magazines and TV the way Joe Namath was, or either that Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you think that has validity now, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I can go back to just last summer if you want to get recent with this. Rob Gronkowski, okay? Running around with his pants halfway down, no shirt on, and the media didn't blast him for it. This is just Gronk being Gronk, having fun on stage at a concert, unclothed like J.R. Smith. But this was Gronk. It was accepted because this was his normal modus operandi.
Yeah.
But, when you got somebody out just having fun, they weren't being a public nuisance, Charlton. They were not dressed inappropriately. They were dressed properly for being on a boat, okay, in 80-degree weather. And for the New York media and other national media to jump on this, saying that these players were out of line because they were in Miami on their day off.
Yeah.
On their day off. So if they didn't pull a Julio Jones, gone out and did some fake fishing on a boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be realistic on what you can do on your day off. And think about it. How many players on the day off in the NFL, in professional sports, Charlton, leave town? It was a common number that players leave town. I remember when I played on the East Coast, Charlton. On our days off, we'd get on a plane and go down to Jamaica for a day or two.
Yeah.
We got a couple days off. We're flat out. And that's what we do. We would make it back in time for practice when practice would resume.
Yeah.
But for 2 days, we would be down in an island somewhere.
Well, I also I recall, and it wasn't a football situation, but Tom Brady and a couple other guys from the Patriots, they all flew out from the golf. They were at the Masters, and then they went to Las Vegas to see the Pacquiao and Mayweather fight, Big C. They were partying on a private plane. I don't know how much it cost. And they didn't have their wives with them, Big C, but there were some women on the plane. Didn't catch much flack, though, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you talk about Tom Brady. Tom Brady was down in Rio doing Carnival, okay?
Yeah.
Down there, nude on the beach.
Yeah.
They didn't beat him up over it. Tom Brady nude on the beach down in Rio de Janeiro doing Carnival this past year. But no, it was okay because it was Tom Brady.
Yeah.
These players were not nude on the boat, Charlton. They were just having fun, a relaxing day. You didn't see them slinging alcoholic beverages or anything like that, doing anything inappropriate, Charlton.
Yeah.
Athletics is athletics, and it crosses so many boundaries in what you can do for fun. Players are always going. We saw the Rose Bowl the other night, Charlton.
Yeah.
How many NFL players were at the Rose Bowl?
Oh, a lot of them.
Past, but present.
Yeah.
Alumni from USC and Penn State, Charlton, were on the sideline of the game. That was on their day off. Their day off, they were at the Rose Bowl because they had no practice.
Yeah.
Their seasons were over. No one in the national media said, hey, why are these guys here? And I saw a couple players, their teams are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they're on the active roster, on the sideline. But no one from the national media made light of that, Charlton. They didn't say anything negative about these players going there, having a good time. You got to tell me the only thing they did in Los Angeles, Charlton, was stand on the sideline of the football game. When you get together with old buddies and former players that you played with, you have a history, there are things that you do that were more than just standing on the deck of a boat.
And everybody gets better as they get older, Big C. We've seen that, too. And speaking of that, this segment is sponsored by your California Lottery. What can a buck do for you tonight? Super Lotto is just $66 million, Big C. So you probably won't even get out of the house for that, Big C. But for most people, you buy a lotto ticket, you have a chance to win money. and some of that money goes to help the schools, Big C. But also want to touch on a few other things that are happening in the world of sports, especially when you look at UConn basketball, just a pillar of sports, no matter men or women's sports. REM has done such a great job with the UConn women's basketball team. I think they're looking at winning 88 consecutive games. Big C, if that makes sense.
Yes, Charlton. UConn is the latest victory, cat victory number 88.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, Charlton, that's the second longest winning streak in college basketball history. It's only been accomplished twice before. That's once by UConn when they went on to win 90 consecutive games, Charlton.
Yeah.
And the great UCLA men's basketball team, led by the then Lou Alcindor, who won 88 games. But UConn has the record at 90, and they're 2 games shy, Charlton, of matching that record that they set a few years back. But when you think about this team, Charlton, they have not lost a game since 2014.
Wow.
Think about this. 2014. No one on this current team, Charlton, has lost a basketball game in college. So when you think about what Gino Auriemma has done, we knew Pat Summitt, the late Pat Summitt, was the dean of coaching in college basketball. Many people don't realize it. She had eclipsed 1,000 victories, Charlton.
Wow, that's amazing.
While she was at Kentucky, not Kentucky, but Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah.
When you think of what Auriemma has done, Charlton, in his time at UConn, it's been unmatched by anyone. The guy has won championships at the NCAA level, at the Olympic level, Charlton, the world's game level, and everybody has pursued him. But he is comfortable teaching the women at UConn because he teaches the fundamentals of basketball. He's not out there having to worry about the egos of this one-and-done scenario, a generation of college basketball players. And you can't blame the young men for wanting to go out and make some of the money that the universities are making off of their backs.
Yeah.
But, he has set a precedent as far as the standard of what college athletics mean. There's so much bad talk about college athletes over the years about what they're in school for, and we know the ones that are in school to turn pro, whether it's basketball or football or baseball, something. And think about this. When was the last time someone talked negative about a college baseball player, even a high school baseball player, talking jumping to the pros? And mainly because most of those guys, 90% of them, are Caucasian.
Yeah.
When they leave high school directly and go to the pros as a baseball player, or even early out of college.
Well,
only the African-American basketball player and football player get a bad rap when they leave college early because they want to look out for their future. Bryce Harper, former MVP of Major League Baseball, left high school early and went to a junior college because the competition in high school in Vegas, his parents didn't feel that it was good enough to make him any better.
Wow.
They took him out of high school and put him in a junior college where he dominated also. But, 4 years later, he was the MVP of Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But no one, lambaste Anglo player, Charlton, for leaving early on any level. Jared Goff, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft last year.
Yeah.
Left college early. Didn't do anything in the NFL.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any negative strife about him leaving early like we've had about the African-American players this year. Leaving college early, sitting out bowl games. It's a double standard. It's okay for the white player to make the money.
I still think that Madison Avenue has a pushback, and when it comes to that, a lot of people just aren't used to seeing young black men live the kind of life that they brag about if you happen to be a Caucasian athlete. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Everybody has something they like or dislike about somebody, but I don't think they did anything wrong. You got to find a way to relax. I remember out here in California, they have this thing called tennis. Not tennis, but it's called the beach volleyball, and everybody wears a bikini. They do it on regular TV, and they kind of flaunt the woman's body in front of you, and the bikinis look like underwear, Big C, but that's something that's acceptable. But when men kind of have that same kind of look, it seems like a little bit of pushback on Madison Avenue. Just want to get your thoughts also. If you look at college football, the last 10 years, coaches, there's so many openings now, but the last 10 years, a lot of coaches that have gone on and made the playoffs, they actually came out of college. They were not some old recycled guy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about it, Charlton, the last 2 college coaches that have come into the NFL and made the playoffs in their inaugural season as an NFL head coach came from the Pac-12 conference.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at that, Jim Harbaugh left Stanford, went to the 49ers, went to the playoffs. Chip Kelly left Oregon and went to Philadelphia, made it to the playoffs. Now, who's the hottest coach now in the Pac-12 that's been consistent?
David Shaw.
That's David Shaw there at Stanford.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about a pedigree of a conference that has produced NFL-type players, NFL-type coaches, why isn't the hot talk about David Shaw? Now, we got 6 openings, Charlton, in the NFL as of present, okay?
Yeah.
And I think there will be at least 1 to 2 more before, the draft comes around. I think that will actually occur.
Yeah.
But when we talk about coaches that know how to coach the NFL-type players, David Shaw is the guy out there. That people have talked about Nick Saban, going somewhere, being a coach. The name is constantly popped up when there's an organization. Why would Nick leave Alabama? He's God. If Nick says it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain in Alabama, okay?
Yeah, I think if he wins a national championship this year, you know how sometimes they have touchdown Jesus at Notre Dame, and they have the Paul Bear Bryant in front of Bryant-Denny Stadium. They may have a statue of the great Nick Saban in all the high schools as well. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Nick Saban, when you think about his 2 tenures in the NFL, now he's been in the NFL twice. People only think he's been there once. But he was a defensive back coach under Bill Belichick in Cleveland. We know how well that went. Okay?
Yeah.
Cleveland was the same team now that they were when he was the defensive back coach there. He went to Miami. He struck out in the middle of the night. Got the line. Everybody said, I'm not going anywhere. Is the Jets start again? That's all he was doing in the press conference. He was waiting on the Jets to warm up and to get his luggage on. But the level, coaching college and coaching in the NFL is different. Nick wants to be a dictator. He wants to be in control of everything. We just saw that with the move with Lane Kiffin. So, he's not a guy that wants to share anything. And I don't think any organization in the NFL wants to give him ultimate control over every decision. And we're talking about all personnel decisions. And so that's tough to give up in the NFL. You're not going to find that easily in that league.
Yeah.
But, David Shaw is the perfect fit. You can look around college football and say, who is there? And I think one of these coaches from the national championship game may go. Dabo Swinney may end up in the NFL. I don't see Nick Saban going that direction, but there's going to be a need to bring in 1 or 2 new fresh faces in the NFL out of the college ranks.
Yeah.
David Shaw should be number 1 on everybody's list. Is looking for an NFL talent type coach.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Everybody else is second and third tier. When you look around, you go out and try to find these defensive coordinators and say, okay, I'm going to bring a defensive coordinator off of a winning team and it's going to make us a winner. No, it's not going to happen, Charlton. They don't have that much talent. That's the reason why they have no more responsibility on a team than what they do. They're not used to being CEOs. They're used to handling a division. So, if you're going to give somebody a chance, look into the college ranks, get some of those guys who have run consistent programs, and Shaw, you're not going to find any more high caliber of a person than him. There's never been any sanctions on Stanford since he's been there. You think about the kids that he recruits, Charlton. He recruits quality young men. You have to be accepted by Stanford academically before you can even take a scholarship.
Yeah.
So you understand what this man has to go through as far as getting quality players. And his best player is leaving the NFL going into the draft, McCaffrey. So automatically you may get 2 for 1 if you bring him in as a head coach.
You know what, Big C, when you look at Shaw, he was on the staff with Harbaugh, and since Harbaugh left, he has a better record at Stafford than Jim Harbaugh had. But think about who he has the experience to game plan against. He game planned against the great Pete Carroll, who's won national championships at Southern Cal, also a Super Bowl. He game planned against the coach down at UCLA. Can't remember his name right now, but his father played. Jim Moore.
Was also a former NFL head coach.
Yeah, he game planned against him. He game planned against Halfridge up in Oregon when Oregon went to 2 national championships. He game planned against Peterson. Peterson got into the national championships. He's game planned against Riley, who went to Nebraska and turned their program around. He's game planned against everybody who's won anything in the Pac-12. Chip Kelly, yeah.
So, when you think about the people that he's competed against, when you talk about Chip Kelly and
Halfridge also. Yeah, Halfridge.
He's beaten most of those guys who've been in the NFL and been, have made it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, he's understood how to beat that type of mind. But, you have to look at the drawback of the NFL, not willingness to give this man serious consideration when you look around at the coaches that they consistently talk to.
Yeah.
And, I know Saban's name always come up. But, when Saban has been around the block, when he was at Michigan State, he was just an also-ran coach, Charlton, in the Big Ten. He didn't win a Big Ten title.
Yeah.
He was still second tier looking up to Michigan and Ohio State when he was in the Big Ten as a coach. He went to LSU. Yes, he won a national championship at LSU, but he did not dominate the conference year in and year out. He went to Miami and had his lunch handed to him with the Dolphins. Okay?
Yeah.
He couldn't wait to leave.
Well, and the main thing about it, he's in the backyard of the 49ers organization, so they just don't want an African-American running their team. They want to put everything on when they tried the guy out of Mike Singletary, who actually won 8 games, which is more games than the last 2 coaches combined, and they still fired him, Big C, after winning 8 games, Big C. And they've given up almost $30 million in the last 2 years, and David Shaw is just right there in the backyard, but maybe he has too much class for the organization. I also want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions, and we're endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. We're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers because we want to put people back to work. Big C, when we talk about more things happening in the world of sports, and you look at Nick Saban and you talk about Dabo Swinney, let's talk about some of the guys at the NFL level when it comes to the MVP. I'm going to say Prescott because he's done it with 1 year. He hasn't even played a whole year in the NFL, and he led Dallas to the best record as a starting quarterback. And I know we talk about Tom Brady and Rodgers, but they've been around the block a long time. This guy, in 1 season, beat their record. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at New England, Charlton, they were going to be fine whether Brady played quarterback or not. They were going to reach double-digit victories, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, he had an outstanding 12 games when he came back. Anybody with a 27-2 touchdown to interception ratio, you have to give them consideration whether it's a half a season or a whole season. But New England, when you talk about Tom Brady, you got to look at New England just like you look at Dallas when they talk about Prescott and they talk about Elliott.
Yeah.
What would New England be without LeGarrette Blount's 18 touchdowns, Charlton?
Wow.
Okay, 18 touchdowns. Nobody even speaks about LeGarrette Blount in the same breath that they talk about Ezekiel Elliott. But LeGarrette Blount carried the load before Tom Brady got there, during his suspension, and even after Tom Brady arrived back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Brady has 27 touchdown passes, okay, Jonathan? LeGarrette Blount has 18 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
So do the math.
Yeah.
Who's been most important in keeping that offense balanced?
Yeah.
When it's second in the league in rushing, Jonathan, and 18 touchdowns, no one has talked about him in any breath about MVP consideration because he's on the same team with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We look at Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he went on a 6-game winning streak, Jonathan. That's fantastic. 6-game winning streak. But let me do some math. If this guy in Dallas, what they win? What, 12?
I think they have 11 in a row, I think.
12.
Oh, 12, you're right. 12 in a row.
Okay, they won 12 consecutive games. Aaron Rodgers won half that. And by winning half as many consecutive games as Dak Prescott, he's considered an MVP of the league.
Yeah.
Okay? So you win twice as many games as anybody else consecutively in the league, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you're not really looked at as the top MVP candidate. We look at Matt Ryan down in Miami. Atlanta.
Yeah.
He threw for 5,000 yards. But he has a running game also to complement him. He has the best wide receiver in pro football. But what did they win on the regular season, Charlton? 10 games?
Yeah.
7 games? Okay, they won less games than what Dallas had as a winning streak, okay?
Wow.
Dallas had a winning streak longer than anybody else other than New England. They won 12 games, but when you talk about the other 2 MVPs, you got, Rodgers with a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah.
You got Atlanta that won 10 games. But Prescott, he took his team, Charlton. Let's throw out everything else. What was Dallas' record last year? 4-12.
4-12, yeah.
4-12. Everybody else, Charlton, that we're talking about was above 500 last year. Atlanta was 8-8. Green Bay was 10-5. New England, I believe, was 12-4.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood, okay?
Yeah.
12-4. But when we look at Dallas, 4-12. Okay, the major difference in Dallas. Now, they had a 1,000-yard runner last year in Dallas and McFadden. Okay?
Yeah.
So all they did was replace him because they upgraded to a guy who had heart running the ball instead of a guy who was scared trying to get out of bounds.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay? But everything else in Dallas, that offensive line was in Dallas last year, Thompson. They didn't just show up.
Same one.
They've been in Dallas for the last 3 years as a cohesive unit. So when people say, well, the Dallas offensive line is MVP, so why weren't they the MVP or MVP candidates last year? Same damn offensive line, same tight end, same receivers, Charlton. Everything was the same. Only major difference in Dallas is that they replaced the quarterback. Yes, Elliott led the league in rushing.
Yeah.
But the quarterback, Charlton, Dallas went through how many quarterbacks last season? 4.
Yeah.
They went through a quarterback for every victory that they had last year. They had 4 quarterbacks and 4 victories. They had 1 quarterback this year, Charlton, and 13 victories. Should have been 14, but they screwed him out of the last one.
Yeah.
Last game of the season.
Yeah.
But when you talk about an MVP, and this is unilateral in all professional sports, what does someone mean to their team? Can they win without him?
Yeah.
Dallas proved that, Charlton, last weekend. They cannot win without Dak Prescott.
You notice you notice when they took him out of the game, I think he had 1 series. Dallas lost by double digits for the first time since last year when Tony Romo played, Big C. Double digits. They'd only lost by combined 4 points. They lost to the Giants twice, Big C. And I think it's incredible how it's so obvious, but people don't want to talk about that as much. They just want to see a Caucasian guy at the helm. And I do believe that Dallas lost their chance at winning the Super Bowl when they killed momentum in Philadelphia. They think they can turn it on the way you start a car, but I know you played a lot of sports over the years, Big C. It's not as easy to turn it on when you try to lose a game at the end of the season. Your thoughts?
That was basically Dallas' first round playoff loss, Charlton, because it just doesn't come back. That symmetry that you have, that the players that have built all year long getting to that point, that you can decide that, hey, these guys are going to sit down because I want to see what's left with these guys. The NFL is a different evaluation tool, Charlton, than anything else. It's not the NFL combine where you're bringing all these bodies in and timing them and see how fast they can run, see how quick they can cut. You know what a guy can do because you have him on the roster. You've had him there the entire season, Charlton, through training camp and all the practices throughout the season. You know whether he has the ability to play. You know, the question whether Tony Romo can play at an NFL level was asinine by the media. He's been there for over a decade, Charlton. They know of his caliber of play, but to break up the continuity, Dallas Cowboys, Charlton, were the only team to sit their starting quarterback in the first quarter in the final season.
I noticed that.
They were going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Every team that was in the playoffs, Charlton, their starting quarterbacks played at least 3/4 of the game. So I'm looking at Dallas, and there was only one reason for Dallas to make that move. The other team, they're looking at Tony Romo as trade material. Nobody's going to give you a first-round draft pick, Charlton, for a guy who's been around the league 13 years.
Yeah.
It's not that much left in the tank, so wishful thinking by Dallas. And nobody's going to eat up his $22 million contract, Charlton. That's not going to happen. So there's going to have to be some concessions made to get him to another team. But when I look around, and I've watched this game for a long time, Charlton, a long time, played in it for a day or 2.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you think about it, I've never witnessed this before.
No.
You're sitting down your starting quarterback, who is the hottest quarterback in the league as far as victories, to say, hey, we want to give him a rest because we think he might be getting tired because he's won so many damn games.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't make sense. Nowhere. Up and down the list. Charlton, look at every Super Bowl team since the Super Bowl has been played. Okay? Every quarterback that has gone into the Super Bowl started all the games except for Terry Bradshaw, the guy who can't spell shade. Okay?
Yeah. I understand.
He's the only quarterback that did not start all the time and went into the Super Bowl. Even the Dallas Cowboys, when they had the 2 quarterback tandem, when they were playing Roger Staubach and Craig Mortensen, this is for Super Bowl 4 when they played against the Baltimore Colts down in Miami.
Yeah.
They had this dual quarterback system, but the quarterback who started the majority of the games started the Super Bowl, and Craig Morton, even though Roger Staubach came into the game when Morton got hurt. But that was their system that they had in Dallas. They had a 2-quarterback system. But to do that to Dak Prescott, to go the entire season, and I'll take that back. One other team did that, the Baltimore Colts. They did that with Johnny Unitas in Super Bowl 4, ironically. Earl Moore got us to the game, not taking back 2 quarterbacks. I'm getting crazy.
Yeah.
Earl Moore had it happen to him twice in his career. Charles.
Yeah. And that's...
It happened with him in Super Bowl 4.
Yeah.
With the Baltimore Colts against Dallas, and also in the Dolphins' undefeated season. Bob Greasy broke his leg, okay?
Yeah.
Earl Moore kept that team undefeated. And Bob Greasy got to start in the Super Bowl. The worst offensive game they had all year long, but he got to start in the Super Bowl. So, it has happened, but, that quarterback who has come back and tried to start, Jones, just didn't get it done. Johnny Unitas got knocked out of that Super Bowl. Bob Greasy had a lackluster performance, if not for the triplets he had in the backfield of Kick, Donka, and Morris.
Yeah.
They would have lost that game.
Yeah.
They would have lost that game. So it's not a success story for the Dallas Cowboys because they're going to lose that second-round playoff game because the team that they play, Jonathan, is going to be a team that's hot.
Yeah.
And that team's quarterback is going to be in his 18th start of the season, okay?
Yeah.
His 18th consecutive start when they play that game. And Dak Prescott is going to have to be coming off the bench to start again. The momentum just won't be there.
Big C, that makes so much sense. I don't see anyone pulling their starter like Tom Brady in New England. Perfect example. They did not let their foot off the gas. Neither did Aaron Rodgers. And all the guys, Matt Ryan, they all played because they need to win. And you can't take away momentum. And speaking of momentum, this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We're looking to hire over 1,000 insurance brokers because we want to put people back to work. Tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on Twitter. Also by BeneathThisWingsFoundation.org and CYNN Entertainment when it comes to promotion. Cynthia Evans is the best in Northern California. Big C, also talking about momentum, look at the college basketball level. The University of Kansas, I believe they're looking at 50 straight home wins. How do you get players to come to Kansas, Big C?
Kansas is a place, Charlton, that's so flat, you can see a dog run away for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's nothing out there. But, when you think about the history of college basketball at the University of Kansas, I mean, this is a place where they've won national championships.
Yeah.
You go back to the great Larry Brown winning there with Danny Manning, to bring back, basketball folklore to the University of Kansas. The Fog Allen Fieldhouse has something special, for the University of Kansas. They won 50 consecutive home games with their victory last night. But it came in the most dubious way, Jonathan.
Yeah.
If you saw that game, they threw in the ball with, just less than 10 seconds to go in the game.
Yeah.
The guard brings the ball down the court, Jonathan. He terminates his dribble outside the three-point circle at the top of the key. But 5 steps later, Jonathan, he was at the rim making a layup. And he had not taken the dribble in 20 feet. Okay?
Wow.
But he made a layup, and, we took a look at instant replay.
Yeah.
We have 3 officials on the court in college basketball. We get fouls called on players coming off the scorer's bench, okay?
Yeah.
Checking into the game.
Yeah.
But here's a player, and they call a travel on any big man who does a pivot nowadays in the post. But this player left outside the three-point arc, Charlton, and we're not talking about a great leap because he's a white guard.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
We came from the movie White Man Can't Jump with Woody Harrelson.
Right.
So, he left outside the arc. And by the time he released the ball 5 steps later, he was at the rim laying it off the backboard, Jonathan, and no one saw this. You talk about home cooking for Kansas.
You think it was home cooking for Kansas? Maybe that's how they got to 50 in a row, Big C. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you think about the basis of moonshine, it's corn. A lot of it grows in Kansas, so, they might...
Well, wait a minute. Now I know what I've been doing wrong. I was using potatoes. I thought you said potatoes and apples. Are you saying it's corn?
I'm not really talking.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Big C. We'll talk
some tortillas.
Okay. Big C, when you look at also, if you look about winning streaks and keeping momentum, in the NHL, the Carolina Blue, I think they have 16 in a row at home, and they also have not been taking their foot off the gas. Big C, your thoughts?
But, when you think about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Charlie, of the NHL, Ohio has something to cheer about other than just the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
And you think about it, they're one game shy of an NHL record. And they've won 16 consecutive games, Charlie. They have not lost a game since before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
When you think about that winning streak in the NHL and the professional sports period, to go that long, and we know the rigorous schedule of the NHL is just like the NBA, where you're on the road all the time, you're playing back-to-back nights from time to time. And one of the things I like about the NHL, Charlie, this year is that they've eliminated the tie. They've gone to the shootout till somebody wins.
That's good.
And during that streak, Carolina has won 2 of those games through shootouts. So in the old days, it would have been a tie, and they wouldn't have this consecutive win record, Charlie.
Yeah.
But you have to like what they're doing. The only bad thing about this, in the NHL, Charlie, in the last 6 years, the number 1 seed going into the playoffs has only won the Stanley Cup one time, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
That's the last number 1 seed. And you think about Washington, who Columbus is playing tonight. Last year was the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. They didn't get into out of the second round in the playoffs. So, it's a great streak to have in sports. And when you have teams with these consecutive win streaks that can potentially break a record, they're 2 games away from breaking the record. And hopefully they'll do that because Columbus needs something to cheer for in professional sports. You think about the success of Ohio, the state of Ohio, Charles, and this past year in sports. We had the Cleveland Cavaliers win the NBA title. We had the Cleveland Indians go to the Big C World Series, losing in an epic Game 7 to the Chicago Cubs. And now you have the Columbus Blue Jackets in Columbus with this 16-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Ohio State went to the college football playoffs prior to being drubbed in their first-round game by Clemson. So you think about the success in that Ohio region.
Yeah.
This year in college and professional sports, Jonathan, it's second to none in the country as far as what they've done for their fan base.
Well, even in the high school level, Big C, it's Paul Brown that started the Cleveland Browns, and they have a stadium called Paul Brown Stadium, and it's in Canton, Ohio, and that's where the NFL plays the first game of the season, the Hall of Fame game. It's just a lot of good things happening in the state of Ohio when it comes to sports. But as we get ready to close out, Big C, I want to get your thoughts on this one more time because it crosses Hollywood and it crosses sports, and it goes back to that thing with Beckham and also the having his shirt off. And I think last year another guy from Ohio was it Smith, J.R. Smith, that had his shirt off. What's it with these good old boys taking their shirts off when it's freezing cold for the most time? I think the guys in New York, they just wanted to get some sunshine in sunny southern Florida. Big C, your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, Jonathan, when you think about taking your shirt off in sports, you look no further than soccer. It's been a common norm of soccer players, Jonathan, to take off their shirts after scoring a goal.
Yeah, after scoring a goal, yeah.
And we've seen that many times. If we go back to, I believe it was the 92 World Cup, Women's World Cup in Pasadena, when the soccer player, and her name eludes me at the moment.
I think it's Randy Chastain, I think it's her name.
When she scored the winning goal, and she took off her jersey. Yeah, she had a sports bra on, but she took off her jersey. That was celebrated, by women's soccer. And Nike loved it because the sports bra was made by Nike. You talk about the elite advertising that Uncle Phil got from that scenario. It all depends on who's doing this, Charles.
Yeah.
Who's taking off their jersey, showing off their body. Now, I respect all athletes. I think about to the days when I had a six-pack on my body and I didn't have to go to the refrigerator to get
to grab two of them, yeah.
The hard work and dedication of an athlete should afford them any luxury of showing off their body in a tasteful manner.
Yeah.
Whether it's male or female. And I know years ago that some of the female tennis players got lambasted because of the type of outfits they were wearing, how tight and revealing that they were. But they worked hard. I would dare any reporter in the box, in the booth, to walk down and compare bodies against the athletes that they're trying to blast, Charlie.
Well,
put down your pen and paper, take off your shirt and stand next to this athlete and see who gets talked about from everybody else. I think the fans appreciate the athletes. And they're hitting, especially
Yeah.
football players, Jonathan.
Yeah.
All you see is their numbers in their helmets. So if I can show you that there's an actual person up under this uniform, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football, then you see the real meat. You know, you see the real meat. Because during training camp, Jonathan, football players all the time walk off the field with their shoulder pads off,
Yeah.
with their shirts off, just with their upper torso showing.
Yeah.
No one says anything about it. They're out there getting beat down in 100-degree temperature in July, and it's okay for them to take it off. So when it's 80 degrees in Miami and the season is over, even though you're going into the playoffs, it's not okay to take off your shirt. You know, how asinine are these pigeonhole writers to make these type of statements?
Well, I think I was watching, I don't know if I was watching or somebody just had a TV on, but I saw this program called The Apprentice, and Donald Trump used to be on there, and now they have the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's an Olympic weightlifter, big champion bodybuilder, always had his shirt off, Big C, and they actually have Eric Dickerson on there, and I think Ricky Williams, two former NFL football players, but Arnold made his money by taking his shirt off, Big C, and no one complained. They loved it. Yeah, I just think the only difference is you saw some Caucasian women around these rich young black guys, and that's always scared a lot of people. For some reason, it still exists in 2017. I think that's the biggest reason, not because they don't want to see people with their shirts off. Your thoughts?
Well, you say Arnold made his living running around with his shirt on. It looked like he was wearing panties on stage.
Yeah.
He didn't have nothing on, right? But just think about that, Jonathan. And what about an Olympic swimmer, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Okay, Michael Phelps and Brian Lochte are celebrated running around in a Speedo.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, show me what male swimmer during the Olympics had clothes on. What male diver, Charlton, during the Olympics had clothes on. Somebody come back and tell me what I missed.
Yeah.
And the Olympics were on for 2 weeks on NBC.
Yeah.
So when they show those aquatic events, whether you were in water polo, whether you were on the 3-meter board, the 10-meter board, whether you were in any race in the pool, as a man, you were out there with no clothes on. You were out there with your underwear on.
Yeah.
But yet these guys took off just their shirt. They had their pants on, jumping, they had shoes on their feet. But the national media beat them up. So it's a different standard because we don't see African American swimmers other than the one female that won from Stanford who won the gold medal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only one we saw, but she was a woman in a full suit. But what male swimmer do we see in any Olympics, in any swimming event, whether it's on a college campus or in some pro competition,
Yeah.
out there dressed?
Yeah.
And so when we sit here and we only label the African American as can't take off his shirt in public, you tell me which one of these swimming events is a private event and the public is not invited in, as well as the television cameras, Jonathan. These guys did it on their private time.
I think
this is their private time. I don't care about social media.
Yeah.
Your Snapchat, sending it out on Facebook, whatever. It was still in their private time. When you're doing something on national television, especially Brian Lochte down at the Olympics, going out there in your underwear swimming, and then going urinating in a
gas station.
store and
Yeah.
breaking up stuff and lying about it on television to everybody, and you still label an American hero. If you're a white guy running around with just your underwear on, going out being a public nuisance, come on national television and lie about it, and you're celebrated and sponsors give you money, but you're an African American athlete who's earning an honest living, Jonathan, who doesn't have a police blog, who's going out doing something on your own private time. You're coming back and you're being judged as a criminal by white media for enjoying yourself.
Could you imagine if Odell Beckham were out and he said that he was beaten up by police officers and then urinating in public places, Big C, which is also against the law? Could you imagine how they would have handled that? He takes a lot of criticism just for scoring touchdowns and kicking net on the sideline, Big C. I just think that's incredible. Hopefully we'll have more people have real dialogue as to why some people just don't believe in people interacting outside of their own homogenous group, and I think that's where the backlash came from. I also want to say that Charlton and Big C Sports are going to be offering athletic insurance anywhere throughout the world, whether it's pro or college or high school, Big C. So if you're looking for insurance for athletic or events, and also tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. Big C, as we close, I just want to tell you, tonight we have in Sacramento at Golden One Center, the Miami Heat are in town playing the Kings. and the Kings are starting to turn things around. I said silently that they would probably be a number 8 seed in the Western Conference playoffs if they continue trying to win. I know they still have a mountain to climb, but there's something about getting a new arena when it comes in town. It's like getting a new car, Big C. Unlike you, they don't keep mud on the arena, Big C. But just when you start celebrating this state-of-the-art arena in downtown Sacramento, the Golden State Warriors, they've unveiled pictures of their beautiful, I think, almost $2 billion arena on the San Francisco Bay, Big C, just about 4 blocks south of where the Giants play baseball. So your thoughts on, I think down in Atlanta, they're building a new one also. Everybody's getting something new, but will that newness transition into getting a winning team, Big C? Just want to get your thoughts. If the LA Rams build a $2 billion football stadium and they're only winning 4 games a year, are people going to sell out and buy tickets? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, I think what you look at when you build the new digs is that everybody's looking at comfort, and they fall in love with it. But it also creates a different mentality around the team, is that ownership in the organization is looking out for them also, because they're putting in this new facility that allows them the best of everything that the modern organization should have.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the teams that have struggled over the years, and you look at them not having replaced their stadium, Charlton, when you think about the last decade of the Super Bowls and the teams that have been in the Super Bowls, Charlton, they've all received new stadiums during that time. So, that's part of that organization upgrading in every way. Teams want to be a part of those organizations that are doing more for them.
Yeah.
When you look at New England, Pittsburgh, Dallas, they've all put in these new stadiums. New Orleans, the Superdome has been around, but they revamped it after Katrina, and they look at the Super Bowl. The Bears built a new stadium there in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was an old Soldier Field. They were in the Super Bowl. The Colts built a new stadium at Lucas Oil Field. The Broncos in Vesco Field is only about 9-10 years old. And they've been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Seattle, West Field, they built it. They've been to 2 Super Bowls. So when you look at that, Arizona's been to the Super Bowl a couple times, and you look at University of Phoenix Stadium.
Yeah.
But when you look at teams being productive, Charlton, it comes from giving them the right digs to do that in.
Yeah.
The Ravens have been to the Super Bowl. The stadium they play in is not that old, Charlton. So a lot of success in the NFL, other than the Cleveland Browns, comes from having the proper facility. You have to give a team what they need to win. And that comes with the facility, the coaches, and the players. But they're all synonymous with each other, Charlton. No player is looking to run to a city that doesn't care about what they play in.
Yeah.
When you look at the Rams, the love affair was there, as we talked about. First 6 weeks of the season, everybody's going to be in love. But in LA, you'll figure out something to do when a team is not winning.
Yeah, you got to win. You got to win there, Big C. That's you said that before, and I think it's so true, because LA is an entertainment capital. They're really not diehard fans the way you have in Chicago or in New York, Big C, or even in Dallas. So I think you're right about that. They got to find a way to put a winning program together.
Didn't we just see one of the greatest college football games of all time?
Yeah.
The Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
You think about the star factor that was on the sidelines of the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Hollywood was on the sideline of the Rose Bowl, as well as NFL alumni and college football alumni were up and down the sideline. They gave out as many media passes as they had players.
Yeah.
Those people, Charlton. But even when Pete Carroll was the head coach at USC, when you looked at the sideline, it was like looking at a movie set.
Yeah.
With the number of followers from Hollywood that wanted to interact from the entertainment industry with this USC program, because that was a winning program. You look at the Dodgers game, Charlton, in that lower deck at a Dodgers game, it's like Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
Because everybody's down there and somebody courtside at a Lakers game.
The great Jack. Yeah.
Everybody has money that is down there and has film credit, or music credit. So that's what you have when you build the facility, and people will come to it, Jonathan, because they want to be in comfort.
And you brought that point up, and you just think about Coach Fisher. They just fired Coach Fisher, but he told Eric Dickerson, one of their Hall of Famers, that he's not welcome. And then you just brought up a great point. In LA, the teams that win, when they have the Hollywood people come by, I think they also buy tickets sometimes, Big C, even though they get a lot of free stuff. But it's a great recruiting tool. It's also great for entertainment. And when you have movie stars on the scene, on the sidelines, it's a better atmosphere for the sports world, and that's why LA is always going to be a popular place for a team as long as you win. And speaking of winning, Big C, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network. And as we always tell you, we appreciate everyone who follows Big C Sports on iHeartRadio. And Big C, I want to tell everybody, there's never any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911. Don't make her deal with it on her own. And as we always want to tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.